avoid a lot of their line of sight angles, but look at the DPS go. They're rolling them.
Hello and welcome to another episode of One Site, One Fight. My name is Thor, Contenders Coach from Chicago, and we are going back into the Overwatch League and review one fight scene from the POV of one player. So this time we choose Kai from the Atlanta Reigns. They're playing against the Shock on King's Row, and both teams playing the Reinhardt Brawl composition with Symmetra. And I think Symmetra is a really interesting character in this format. But before we basically watch and analyze what Kai is doing, how about we see how the fight played out in the real game.
Getting close to that matrix, Nero with a Blizzard as well, slightly outpacing Pelican actually, but these May walls have been incredibly important for the Reign in terms of keeping this momentum flowing as they go through the map. Here's the teleporter up to the high ground, really nice positioning for the Reign, and they overwhelm Violet and push him back from his own amp matrix.
Yeah, the window gets nothing at all, and look at the Atlanta Reigns pace already to cart. Just really trailing just behind that checkpoint B. They've got a nice little ice wall there. The May wall, okay, maybe they can make something work with this one, but look at that Starter Stroke right over the top of the Blizzard. It pushes them away. They can't swing into it as a result of it, and now they come back in. Massa, the sound barrier is excellent. The Atlanta Reign have got a lot of health to work with. Troy just trying to avoid a lot of their line of sight angles, but look at the DPS go. They're rolling them.
Yeah, it starts out with a pick on Violet. That sound barrier.
An incredible understanding of Kai, how he strategically uses the TP to put them himself or the team always in a good position. Now let's jump a little bit closer and deeper into this gameplay and see kind of what is he doing and why is he doing certain moves. So obviously we start here at the start of the fight with the TP to the high ground. Now why do you want to make this move in the total? As they know, as obviously they scouted, is that the Shock holding this corner and they're holding it kind of close. They also know, most likely from ult tracking, that they have the Baptiste window and also the May ultimate. So when we scout that an enemy team is playing close to a corner, this and especially with this ultimate, this normally means that they want to push in. So what I expect the Shock to do is an aggressive window, forcing out the defense metrics from the D.Va and upper cooldowns like the amp speed from Lucio and so on, because obviously the Reign wants to either go aggressively through this or defensively rotating the back. And this allows the Nero an opening to use his May ultimate, because they have either no more speed boost or they have no more defense forensics to deny this. Now this whole problem is getting diffused by Kai using his TP to avoid this whole corner to corner fight. Because of the new position, he actually makes this play for a complete advantage for the Reign. Because right in this moment, with this TP and with this team on the high ground, Shock, who normally played around this corner and had a really stable and defensive position, now have no more natural cover towards the Reign players. So they have to either stay here and use resources, aka shields, ultimates or other things, to not get overwhelmed from the kind of normal spam damage that occurs to happen. Even though it's not as much, it will drain your resource over time. So they have to do something about this, or they have to look for a new defensive corner to hide. But the only other defensive corner is all the way here. So even if this whole scene just diffused by the Shock moving back, the Reign get a free payload process, and the Shock cannot really do something about this. So after the TP, and by the way, right, like what's with the Reign? Maybe sometimes some of you say like they also not have a corner. They have a corner. Actually, it's this one. You don't only can play around vertical corner, you can also play, you can not only play around horizontal corners, but you can also play around vertical corners. So if the Reign get attacked here and they don't, for example, want to use their shields, defend metrics or other things, they can simply just step back and there's no way for the Shock, at least the majority of the Shock, to keep attacking them. So that's why, and also because of they are on the high ground, so there's no actual follow-up potential from, for example, Super, they always have the tempo advantage that they can decide when they want to drop. And obviously the Reign will only drop and go aggressive if it's in favor for them. AK if they have a CUDA or like a advantage when it comes to resources because they already kind of broke through a super shatter, a super shield, or if they have other opportunities like ultimates or somebody out of position and so on. Now after this, the Shock basically react with a window, with a Baptiste window. And there comes the second kind of play from Kai, that together with Pelican, who just basically Maywalls the Baptiste window, which is a normal process kind of. It's kind of a cooldown trait, a window against the Maywall is something common. He also used Baptiste the Symmetra barrier to create an opening for the team to push out aggressively. In my opinion, there's a little flaw. I think the Symmetra barrier could have been a little bit more like this, a little bit more sharper, because this allows them then to push more towards the enemy backline, or like not backline, but we obviously expect the enemy team to rotate out of there, and if there's a little bit sharper angle, you can just basically go further and secure yourself even all the way to this corner. But yeah, this is obviously the opening for the Rain to just drop down and use the Symmetra ultimate as a barrier to push out even further and maybe even get a nice engagement towards the Shock. Now, obviously the Shock realized this and they say, yeah, we don't want to fight here. They can always just shield dance as much as they want, so we just basically kite back. Now the Shock make it an interesting play of saying, okay, we also want to try to surprise them, because obviously we expect them to fight around this next corner here. Let me just show it to it a little better. To make sure, okay, we can now like kind of wrap around and then still go for our window Baptiste play. Sorry, not for the window Baptiste play, but for the Mei ultimate, and try to win a fight like this. However, they just try to TP here on the backside to, I guess, mostly surprise them, because I don't see a strategic advantage of going for the longer sideline if you want to get into this close range area, because obviously if you already maybe a little bit more towards them, for example the high ground, you can maybe best case scenario force out a Lucio speed boost, or like Lucio amp, or maybe some defense magic from the D.Va. So meanwhile Kai obviously kites back with his team and is really aware of this possibility. Now cooldown's getting changed. I don't want to go more into this like Mei wall against Mei wall, and we see the ultimate from Nero. Now there is obviously the possibility for Kai that he can just use a defensive teleporter, for example for Gator, so that Gator can TP out from the Mei eyes, or like, yeah, Gator can TP out from the Mei ultimate. However, he decides in this moment that with the position that everybody has and with the immortality field already used, that the Shock are not able to keep pushing and getting a kill from this. I guess there was a communication around the ultimate from Lucio, so if obviously your team is saying like, hey, I will beat this anyways, or I'm going to beat this, it is unwise to use even more resources to basically overlap to have the same result. So the same way of Iris maybe not necessarily using the immortality field, Hawk could just basically block this with his HP. Massa is now basically using the ultimate, and this allows Kai to keep his teleporter active or not use, and maybe can go for a play later. So now afterwards, or like now basically with the defensive or with the kind of advantage from the Rain, obviously the Lucio soundbar already used, they keep pushing up. Kai can also go out and farm some damage on the Super Rhino shield, and obviously now they also know, hey, like we're following up now even with a Mei ult, which is basically makes the Shock react to this, and they have to go then back. Kai says, okay, this is the opportunity to use the DP actually go behind them, because the only thing that the Shock can do is to kite back. Now they're in a huge disadvantage when it comes to the Mei ult, obviously, so basically Super has to go back. They have to use also the cooldowns like defense matrix, sorry, not defense matrix, but speed boost to kind of get out. And at the same time, obviously, he has the advantage of the shield barrier. So even though this is a more risky play, keeping right in the backline because of his shield, or the extra shield, and the big attention from his team that kind of allows him to almost, I don't want to say get unseen, but basically there's so much pressure from Rain's composition right now that Kai can kind of make this sneaky play and take out the Baptiste in the long run. And really great is also that he realized how and what aggressive position he stays, and a lot of like, especially in ranked or something like this, most of us, I guess, would just stay in there because he still have 100 full HP and would just keep beaming down the next one. But because he knows, okay, like we already have big advantage with taking out Violet as a main healer, we don't need to pressure as much anymore. The only thing we need to do is to not die now. So if Rain does not die in the next 5 seconds, then Shock will guarantee to win this fight. And basically Kai already did his job. So he basically plays really defensively towards with his team and just basically attacks who he gets. And obviously the Shock, they have to all in at this point. They have to run all of the resources in to get some, or like to stay on the payload and maybe even win the fight. But at this point, the fight is already over and the Atlanta Reign won this fight. Alright, I hope this was helpful and interesting for you to know, like how basically Kai managed to play around with his teleporter and secure Atlanta Reigns this fight win. I hope you liked this video. When you want another fight for me to analyze, then please send it into the comments and subscribe to my channel. Until the next one. Bye bye.